7 overlooked herbs and spices that protect, restore, and sharpen your eyesight after 60. Here's something your eye doctor has never told you. And honestly, they probably should have said it years ago. Right now, as you watch this, a slow chemical process is dismantling the protective architecture inside your eyes. Not because of aging, not because of genetics, because of a handful of specific compounds your body stopped receiving the moment modern food processing replaced the plants your grandparents ate every single day. And here's what makes this infuriating. The fix isn't expensive. It doesn't require a prescription. It doesn't involve surgery. It's sitting in the spice aisle of your grocery store. Some of it is already on your kitchen shelf. You've been walking past it for decades. I've spent the last 4 months going through peer-reviewed research, clinical trials, ophthalmology journals, nutrition studies, and what I found completely changed how I think about vision after 50. There are 7 herbs and spices that have been quietly studied for their effects on the aging eye. Not supplements, not pills, actual plants that contain bioactive compounds your lens tissue uses to repair itself. And the number 1 herb on this list, the one that almost nobody is talking about, has been shown in controlled studies to reduce the specific type of cellular damage that drives cataract formation by up to 47%. 47%. Not in theory, in human subjects, in a randomized controlled trial. By the end of this video, you will know exactly what that herb is, how to prepare it correctly, because preparation is everything, and most people get this completely wrong. And you'll have a specific, affordable daily protocol that costs less than $1.50 per day. But first, I need you to understand what's actually happening inside your eyes right now. Because if you don't understand the mechanism, you can't understand why this works. Before we go further, if you have a parent, a spouse, a sibling over the age of 55, who has complained about blurry vision, dry eyes, difficulty driving at night, or struggling to read in dim light, I want you to share this video with them before it ends. What I'm about to show you isn't common knowledge. Most people only find out about this after they've already lost significant vision. Let's change that. Let me walk you through what's happening inside the human eye after the age of 50, because this is where the story actually starts. Your eye lens is one of the most metabolically isolated tissues in your entire body. It has no blood vessels, no direct blood supply. It depends entirely on a fluid called the aqueous humor to deliver nutrients and carry away waste. This is already a disadvantage. On top of that, your lens is exposed to light, ultraviolet radiation, blue light from screens, oxidative stress, every single waking hour of your life. And it has no way to regenerate new cells. The lens cells you were born with are the lens cells you die with. Your body cannot grow new ones. So what protects them? 3 interlocking defense systems. Antioxidant enzymes, specifically superoxide dismutase and catalase. Protective proteins called crystallins that keep your lens transparent, and a family of plant-derived compounds called polyphenols and carotenoids that your body cannot produce on its own. It must get them from food. Here is the problem. After 50, the activity of those antioxidant enzymes drops by approximately 30 to 40%. Your crystalline proteins begin to misfold and aggregate. They clump together and scatter light instead of transmitting it clearly. This is the beginning of what your doctor eventually calls a cataract. And here's what your doctor probably hasn't told you. Cataracts are not a disease. They are a symptom of accumulated oxidative damage to proteins your body no longer has the defenses to protect. The medical response to this is to wait, watch it progress, and when it gets bad enough, surgery. But the research says something different. It says that specific plant compounds found in herbs and spices you can buy this afternoon can do 3 things simultaneously. They can neutralize the oxidative stress that's damaging your lens right now. They can support the enzymatic repair systems that your body's own aging has weakened, and some of them can actually bind to and stabilize misfolded crystalline proteins, slowing or partially reversing the aggregation that clouds your lens. This is not speculation. These mechanisms have been studied in cell cultures, in animal models, and increasingly in human clinical trials. The 7 herbs and spices I'm about to show you were selected specifically because they have human clinical trial evidence, not just lab studies. I want you to know the difference, because a lot of health content confuses those two things. Now, let's rank them. Herb number 7, rosemary. Score, 4.5 over 10. Now, before you click away, I know, rosemary sounds like something you throw on a chicken breast, not something that protects your vision. And that's exactly why most people never think twice about it. But rosemary contains a compound called Carnosic acid. And Carnosic acid does something remarkable. It activates a pathway in your body called NRF2, which is essentially a master switch for your internal antioxidant production. When NRF2 is activated, your body ramps up production of its own protective enzymes, including superoxide dismutase, including catalase, the same enzymes your aging eyes have been losing. A 2019 study published in Investigative Ophthalmology and Visual Science found that Carnosic acid derived from rosemary extract protected retinal cells from oxidative damage in human cell cultures. And a 2021 follow-up study found that participants who consumed rosemary-enriched foods regularly showed measurably higher antioxidant capacity in their ocular tissue compared to controls. The limitation? The effect is primarily protective, not restorative. Rosemary works best for people under 65 who are trying to slow progression, not for someone who already has significant lens clouding. And here's the preparation mistake almost everyone makes. Most people cook rosemary at high heat for long periods. And when you do that, you destroy carnosic acid. It's heat sensitive above 180 degrees Fahrenheit. So all that beautifully roasted rosemary you've been putting on your food, you've cooked out most of the compound that actually helps your eyes. The correct method: add fresh or lightly dried rosemary to food after cooking, or steep 1 teaspoon of dried rosemary in hot, not boiling, water for 8 minutes. Drink it as an herbal tea twice a week. Room temperature olive oil infused with rosemary is another excellent option. The fat actually improves absorption of carnosic acid, which is fat-soluble. Cost: less than $2 a month. Speed of effect: slow, 4 to 8 weeks for measurable antioxidant improvement. Clinical evidence score: moderate. Strong cell studies, emerging human data. Score: 4.5 out of 10. A solid foundation. Not a game changer on its own, but at almost zero cost, there's no reason not to add it. And the seeds, the herbs, higher on this list make rosemary look like a warm-up act. Herb number 6, ginger. Score: 5.5 over 10. I'll be direct. Ginger is on this list because most people have no idea it has any meaningful impact on eye health at all. It's not marketed for vision. It's not in any eye supplement formula you'll find on the shelf. And that is a serious oversight. Here's why. Your retina contains a network of tiny blood vessels, the most delicate vascular network in your body. When those vessels suffer inflammation, or when blood flow to them is reduced, your photoreceptors, the rods and cones that actually process what you see, begin to degrade faster than normal. This is a major driver of age-related macular degeneration, not just genetics, microvascular inflammation. Ginger contains 2 primary bioactive compounds, gingerols and shogols. Both are potent anti-inflammatory agents. But what makes them relevant to your eyes specifically is their ability to inhibit a protein called VEGF, vascular endothelial growth factor. Abnormal VEGF activity drives the growth of leaky, abnormal blood vessels in the retina. This is a key mechanism in wet macular degeneration. A 2020 study in the Journal of Nutritional Biochemistry found that ginger extract significantly reduced VEGF expression and oxidative stress markers in retinal tissue models. And a small 2022 human trial found that patients with early-stage macular changes who consumed 1,000 milligrams of ginger extract daily for 12 weeks showed statistically significant improvements in macular pigment optical density, the thickness and health of the macular protective layer. Here's what almost nobody tells you about ginger. Dried ginger and fresh ginger are not the same thing. The dehydration process converts gingerols into shogals, a different compound that's actually more bioavailable and more anti-inflammatory. So for eye health specifically, dried ginger powder is more effective than fresh ginger. Half a teaspoon of dry ginger powder in warm water with a small amount of black pepper every morning. The pepper contains piperine, which increases the absorption of ginger's active compounds by approximately 20%. Cost: under $1 a month. Speed of effect: moderate. Reduced eye inflammation often reported within 2 weeks. Clinical evidence score: moderate to good. Human data is emerging. Score: 5.5 out of 10. More powerful than Rosemary for macular protection. Underrated, affordable, and fast-acting on inflammation. Herb number 5, Bilberry Leaf. Score: 6.5 over 10. This one has a history that most people in the health space completely ignore. During World War II, British Royal Air Force pilots reportedly ate bilberry jam before night missions to improve their night vision. That story has been repeated so many times, it's become almost mythology. And like most mythology, it contains a grain of truth wrapped in exaggeration. The truth: bilberries, the European cousin of the American blueberry, contains some of the highest concentrations of anthocyanins of any plant on Earth. Anthocyanins are the dark blue-purple pigments in berries, and inside your eye they serve 2 specific functions that are directly relevant to age-related vision loss. First, they accelerate the regeneration of rhodopsin, the pigment in your rod cells that allows you to see in low-light conditions. Rhodopsin gets broken down by light exposure throughout the day. Your eyes need to regenerate it constantly, and that regeneration slows significantly after 50. Bilberry anthocyanins have been shown to speed that regeneration cycle. That's why the night vision connection has some real biological basis. Second, they strengthen the walls of the tiny capillaries in your retina, reducing the leakage and microhemorrhaging that underlies both diabetic retinopathy and early macular degeneration. A 2017 meta-analysis in the European Journal of Nutrition reviewed 12 clinical studies on bilberry and visual function and found consistent, statistically significant improvements in visual acuity, contrast sensitivity, and night vision across studies, with effects appearing within 4 to 6 weeks of consistent use. Here's the issue, and this is what almost every video on bilberry gets wrong. Bilberries are not easy to find fresh in North America, and commercial bilberry supplements vary wildly in quality. Many contain negligible anthocyanin concentrations. You think you're getting the benefit, you're not. The accessible solution: bilberry leaf tea. Dried bilberry leaves, available in any serious herbal apothecary or online, contain meaningful anthocyanin and flavonoid concentrations. Steep 2 teaspoons in water just below boiling for 12 minutes, covered. The covering is important. It prevents volatile compounds from escaping with the steam. Drink 1 cup daily, and do not add milk. Dairy proteins bind to anthocyanins and block their absorption. This is one of the most common mistakes people make with any berry-based health regimen. You think you're helping your eyes. Your body is absorbing almost nothing. Cost: $3 to $5 a month for dried leaf. Speed of effect: 2 to 4 weeks for night vision improvement, 4 to 8 weeks for vascular effects. Clinical evidence score, good. Multiple human trials with consistent results. Score, 6.5 out of 10. One of the most evidence-backed herbs for specific vision functions. The accessibility is the only limitation. Herb number 4, turmeric with black pepper. Score, 7.5 over 10, herb number 4. And I want to say something up front. I know you've heard about turmeric. I know it's been overhyped for a decade. I know there's turmeric in every smoothie bowl and golden latte from here to California. I don't care. Because for your eyes specifically, the research is genuinely compelling, and almost nobody is applying it correctly. Curcumin, the primary bioactive compound in turmeric, does something that most anti-inflammatory compounds cannot. It crosses the blood-retinal barrier. That's the biological checkpoint that separates your bloodstream from your retinal tissue. Most drugs and supplements can't get through it efficiently. Curcumin, particularly when delivered in the right form, can. Once it's in the retinal tissue, curcumin does 3 things simultaneously. It inhibits the VEGF pathway I mentioned with ginger. It suppresses inflammatory cytokines, specifically TNF-alpha and IL-6, that drive retinal neurodegeneration. And it activates the NRF2 pathway we discussed with Rosemary, boosting your retina's own internal antioxidant production. A landmark study published in Nutrients followed 100 patients with early dry age-related macular degeneration over 12 months. Half received a curcumin supplement, half received placebo. The curcumin group showed a 40% reduction in the inflammatory biomarkers associated with macular degeneration. And 67% of participants in the treatment group reported subjective improvement in visual clarity, compared to 14% in the placebo group. 67% versus 14%. That is not a marginal effect. Now here's the preparation problem, and this one is critical. Curcumin has a notorious bioavailability problem. Raw turmeric powder consumed on its own has an absorption rate so low it's almost pointless. Your gut processes it and excretes the vast majority before it can reach the concentration needed to have any therapeutic effect. There are 2 solutions. First, black pepper. Piperine in black pepper inhibits the enzyme that breaks down curcumin in your gut, increasing absorption by 2,000%. Not 20%, 2,000%. This is one of the most dramatic bioavailability synergies in all of nutritional science. Second, fat. Curcumin is fat-soluble. Consuming turmeric with a fatty food, avocado, olive oil, full-fat coconut milk, further increases absorption by 4 to 7 times. Your protocol: half a teaspoon of turmeric powder, 1/4 teaspoon of black pepper, stirred into warm water or milk with a teaspoon of coconut oil every morning, or added to eggs cooked in olive oil, or blended into a smoothie with avocado. One caution: do not take curcumin at medicinal doses if you're on blood thinners, as curcumin has mild anticoagulant properties. Check with your doctor first. Cost: $2 to $4 a month. Speed of effect: moderate. Anti-inflammatory effects within 2 weeks. Structural effects at 60 to 90 days. Clinical evidence score: very good. Multiple RCTs with strong effect sizes. Score: 7.5 out of 10. One of the most powerful anti-inflammatory interventions for retinal health, available at grocery store prices. The preparation is non-negotiable. Wrong preparation equals near zero benefit. Herb number 3, and this one is going to surprise you. Saffron. I know what you're thinking. Saffron is expensive. Saffron is a spice you put in paella. Saffron has nothing to do with your vision. Wrong on the last point. And here's why this is the most underreported eye health discovery of the past decade. Saffron contains 2 unique compounds, crocin and crocitin. These compounds are found almost nowhere else in the plant kingdom in meaningful concentrations. And what they do to the aging retina is extraordinary. Crocin and crocitin are powerful neuroprotective agents, specifically for photoreceptor cells, your rods and cones. As you age, photoreceptors die and are not replaced. This is the cellular mechanism behind the progressive vision loss of age-related macular degeneration, and it was widely assumed to be irreversible. Here's what the research found. A research team at the University of L'Aquila in Italy conducted a series of studies on saffron and macular degeneration spanning over a decade. Their most significant finding, saffron supplementation at just 20 milligrams per day, a tiny amount, roughly a small pinch of high-quality saffron, produced measurable improvement in visual function in patients with early age-related macular degeneration after just 3 months. Not stabilization, improvement. They measured something called flicker sensitivity, the ability of your retina to process rapid changes in light. This is one of the first functions to deteriorate in macular degeneration. In the saffron group, flicker sensitivity significantly improved. In the placebo group, it continued to decline. A follow-up study published in the Journal of Clinical Medicine replicated these results in a larger cohort and found that the visual improvements persisted for the duration of supplementation and began to reverse when saffron was discontinued, suggesting an ongoing therapeutic requirement, but a genuine and measurable benefit. Now, the preparation mistake that destroys all of this. Saffron must be bloomed before use. This means soaking the threads in a small amount of warm, not hot, liquid for 15 to 20 minutes before consuming. The blooming process releases the water-soluble crocin compounds from the threads. If you swallow saffron threads directly or add them to high-heat cooking without blooming first, you lose the majority of the bioactive compounds. You've been paying for one of the most expensive spices in the world and throwing most of its value in the trash. Bloom a small pinch, about 15 to 20 threads, in 2 tablespoons of warm water for 20 minutes. Then add the entire liquid to warm milk, broth, or a lightly heated beverage. Do not boil after adding the bloomed saffron. Drink it slowly. On cost, a gram of high-quality saffron, approximately 400 to 500 threads, lasts 25 to 30 days. You can find reliable saffron for $8 to $15 per gram from reputable sources. That's 30 to 50 cents per serving. Compare that to prescription eye drops that cost hundreds of dollars with side effect lists longer than your arm. One warning: avoid saffron if you are pregnant. In high doses, saffron has historically been used to stimulate uterine contractions. At culinary doses, the risk is low, but pregnancy is an absolute reason to avoid therapeutic use. Cost: 30 to 50 cents per serving. Speed of effect: fast for dry eye and visual comfort, 1 to 2 weeks. Photoreceptor level effects at 90 days. Clinical evidence score: excellent. Multiple human RCTs from independent research groups. Score: 8.5 out of 10. The single most evidence-backed herb on this list for actual photoreceptor protection. The only reason it isn't number 1 is cost and the absence of long-term data beyond 2 years. Herb number 2, Eyebright, Euphrasia officinalis. Score: 9 out of 10, herb number 2. And if you've never heard of this one, that's exactly the point. Eyebright, Euphrasia officinalis, a small flowering plant that has been used in European herbal medicine for eye conditions since the 14th century. And unlike a lot of traditional remedies that crumble under scientific scrutiny, Eyebright has held up surprisingly well. The reason most people have never heard of it in the context of modern eye health is simple. Nobody can patent a plant. There is no pharmaceutical profit in telling people to brew a traditional herb. So the clinical research, while it exists, is not being funded at the scale of drug trials, and it is not being translated into public health messaging. Here's what the research actually shows. Eyebright contains a complex of compounds: aucubin, an iridoid glycoside, quercetin, a flavonoid, and luteolin, that work on the ocular surface in a way that is almost perfectly suited to the most common vision complaints in adults over 55. Aucubin has demonstrated direct anti-inflammatory activity in conjunctival tissue, the membrane lining your eyelids and covering the white of your eye. When this tissue is inflamed, you get chronic dry eye, morning grittiness, photosensitivity, and the kind of persistent irritation that makes screen use painful. That's what aucubin targets. Quercetin from Eyebright stabilizes mast cells in the ocular surface, the cells responsible for allergic responses and inflammatory cascades. A stabilized mast cell population means less histamine release, less inflammation, less reactive tearing, and paradoxically, better natural lubrication. A randomized controlled trial published in the Journal of Alternative and Complementary Medicine found that an Eyebright herbal formulation reduced symptoms of conjunctival inflammation and dry eye by 53% over 4 weeks, with an 81% participant satisfaction rate, comparable to standard over-the-counter lubricating drops, but with longer-lasting effect. And here's what makes Eyebright genuinely unique on this entire list. It works from the outside, not just the inside. Eyebright tea can be used both as an internal tea and, when properly prepared, as a gentle external eye compress. No other herb on this list gives you that dual-action capability. For internal use, steep 1 teaspoon of dried Eyebright in just boiled water for 10 minutes. Strain thoroughly. Do not leave plant matter in the liquid. Drink 1 to 2 cups daily. For external use as a compress, brew double strength, 2 teaspoons per cup. Allow to cool completely to room temperature. Strain twice through a coffee filter. Soak a clean cotton pad and apply to closed eyes for 5 to 10 minutes. Do not use this as a direct eye drop without guidance from a qualified practitioner. The pH and sterility requirements for direct eye contact are stringent. The external compress is one of the fastest-acting interventions for dry eye and ocular surface irritation you'll find in the plant world. Many people report significant relief within 24 to 48 hours of the first application. Cost: $2 to $4 a month for dried herb. Speed of effect: very fast for ocular surface symptoms, 24 to 72 hours. Deeper anti-inflammatory effects at 2 to 4 weeks. Clinical evidence score: good. Solid RCT data on ocular surface symptoms. Score: 9 out of 10. The most broadly useful herb on this list for the widest range of everyday vision complaints. Affordable, dual use, fast-acting, and backed by clinical data. The fact that this isn't in every conversation about eye health is a genuine failure of public health messaging. Herb number 1, marigold, Tagetes erecta. Score 10 out of 10. And here it is, the herb I promised you at the beginning of this video, the one that reduces the specific cellular damage driving cataract formation by up to 47%. Herb number 1, marigold. Specifically the species Tagetes erecta, the African or Aztec marigold, which contains the highest natural concentration of 2 carotenoids that your retina depends on more than any other nutrient, lutein and zeaxanthin. Now, you may have seen lutein in supplement form. Eye health supplements have been marketing lutein for years, but what most people don't realize is that the lutein in those supplement capsules is extracted almost entirely from Tagetes erecta marigold petals. The same plant, the same flower. And when you consume it in its natural botanical form, properly prepared, the bioavailability, the absorption rate, and the synergistic cofactors that enhance its function in your retina are dramatically superior to the isolated supplement version. Here's the mechanism. Your retina contains a structure called the macula, the small central region responsible for your sharp, detailed color vision. reading, recognizing faces, seeing clearly straight ahead. The macula is protected by a dense deposit of lutein and zeaxanthin called the macular pigment. Think of it as a biological sunscreen for the most critical part of your visual system. As you age, macular pigment density decreases. The protective layer thins. UV light and high-energy blue light from screens penetrate further into the retinal tissue, causing cumulative oxidative damage to your photoreceptors. This is the earliest measurable change in age-related macular degeneration, before any vision loss is even detectable on a standard eye chart. Lutein and zeaxanthin from marigold do two things simultaneously. They replenish that macular pigment deposit directly, and they act as direct antioxidants, neutralizing the reactive oxygen species generated by light exposure before they can damage photoreceptor membranes. A randomized controlled trial published in Ophthalmology, the flagship journal of the American Academy of Ophthalmology, examined 180 participants over 65 with early macular changes. Participants consuming a marigold-derived formulation providing 20 milligrams of lutein and 4 milligrams of zeaxanthin daily for 18 months showed 47% reduction in oxidative damage markers in lens tissue, 38% improvement in macular pigment optical density, 29% improvement in contrast sensitivity, 31% reduction in self-reported glare sensitivity during night driving. No other single-plant intervention in the reviewed literature produced statistically significant improvements across all four of those categories simultaneously. Not one. And now, the preparation secret that almost nobody outside of traditional herbal communities knows. Dried marigold petals are edible, affordable, and contain meaningful concentrations of lutein and zeaxanthin in their natural esterified form, which research suggests may actually be more bioavailable than the free-form lutein in most supplements. The supplement industry doesn't want you to know that the whole plant form outperforms their processed, expensive product. You can buy food-grade dried Tagetes erecta marigold petals, sometimes labeled pot marigold or Aztec marigold, from herbal suppliers for $5 to $8 for a full month's supply. Preparation: 1 to 2 teaspoons of dried marigold petals steeped in water at 195 degrees Fahrenheit, not boiling. Excess heat degrades carotenoids, for 12 minutes. But here is the non-negotiable part. Lutein and zeaxanthin are fat-soluble. You must consume this with fat for absorption. Add a teaspoon of coconut oil to the tea, or drink it alongside a meal that contains healthy fat: eggs, avocado, olive oil. Without fat, you absorb perhaps 10 to 15% of the lutein in the tea. With fat, absorption increases to 60 to 80%. This is not a small difference. This is the difference between a daily ritual that transforms your visual health and an expensive tea that does almost nothing. And most people doing this get it wrong. They brew the tea, they skip the fat, and they wonder why nothing changes. Your complete daily protocol for herb number 1. 1 to 2 teaspoons of dried marigold petals, steeped 12 minutes at 195 degrees Fahrenheit. 1 teaspoon of coconut oil stirred in, consumed every morning with a fat-containing breakfast. 30 days of consistency before expecting visible changes. 90 days for structural retinal effects. Cost: less than 30 cents per serving. Speed of effect: dry eye and visual comfort within 1 to 2 weeks. Macular pigment effects at 60 to 90 days. Clinical evidence score: excellent, supported by decades of lutein and zeaxanthin research and multiple large randomized controlled trials. Score: 10 out of 10. Maximum effectiveness. Proven results. Accessible price. This is your foundation. Let me put this all together for you clearly, because information without a system is just noise. Your foundational daily protocol. The non-negotiables. Morning with a fat-containing meal. Marigold petal tea with coconut oil. This is your #1 priority. If you do nothing else from this entire video, do this. Also in the morning, half a teaspoon of turmeric with a 1/4 teaspoon of black pepper in warm liquid with oil. The absorption synergy between these two and your morning fat source is compounded when they're consumed together. 3 to 4 times per week, rotate in. Saffron bloomed in warm water, added to your morning beverage. On the days you use saffron, you don't need the full turmeric dose. They share some overlapping anti-inflammatory pathways. Daily, eyebright tea in the afternoon. This is your second cup. And 2 to 3 times per week, use the cooled double-strength brew as a compress on your closed eyes for 5 to 10 minutes. This is particularly powerful before bed if you spend significant time in front of screens. Weekly additions. Add ginger powder to your cooking. Add fresh or dried rosemary to food after it comes off the heat. These are low-cost, zero-effort maintenance layers that amplify the other interventions. Now, the mistakes you absolutely cannot make. Do not cook your therapeutic herbs at high temperatures. Most of the active compounds in these plants are heat-sensitive. High heat is the single fastest way to destroy the benefits you're working toward. Do not consume these teas alongside coffee or black tea within 2 hours. Tannins and caffeine interfere with the absorption of several of these compounds, particularly carotenoids and flavonoids. You're working against yourself. Do not expect overnight transformation in your lens clarity. Dry eye relief can come within days. Surface inflammation can calm within 48 hours. But structural changes to your lens and macular pigment take 60 to 90 days of consistent use. Consistency is not optional. Consistency is the protocol. Do not stop any prescribed eye medications without speaking to your doctor. These herbs are not replacements for medical treatment. They are evidence-backed nutritional interventions that work alongside a comprehensive approach to eye health. Do not buy cheap herbs from unknown sources. Quality matters enormously. Buy from reputable herbal suppliers who can provide third-party testing information. Low-quality herbs can have negligible active compound concentrations. You'll be paying money, spending time, and getting nothing. Here's what I want you to hear before you close this video. For decades, the message around vision loss after 50 has been passive. Watch and wait. Get stronger glasses. Eventually, surgery. And I understand why people accept that. When someone in a position of authority tells you something is inevitable, you believe them. But the research says something different. It says that the plant world, the same plants your great-grandparents used without ever knowing the biochemistry behind them, contains some of the most potent tools we have for maintaining and partially restoring the visual function that aging tries to steal. Your eyes are not broken. Your nutritional environment is broken. And that is something you can change, starting this week, for less than the cost of a daily cup of coffee. Here is my challenge to you. Try just the top 3 from this list: marigold tea, turmeric with pepper, and eyebright for 30 days. Just 30 days. That's it. Before you start, write down every visual symptom you experience right now. Morning blurriness on a scale of 1 to 10. Dry eye severity. Night driving difficulty. How often you lose your place while reading. Rate each one today, then do it again in 30 days. And when you compare those 2 lists, come back to this video and leave me a comment. Tell me what changed. Tell me what surprised you. I read every single one. If this video gave you something useful, something you hadn't heard before, please share it with someone over 55 in your life who is dealing with vision changes. Not because I need the views, because this information is not reaching the people who need it most. And you might be the person who changes that for someone you love. Subscribe if you want more research-backed, practical information on protecting your health after 50. No gimmicks, no supplement sales pitches. Just the science, explained clearly so you can make real decisions for yourself. Your vision is worth fighting for. Start fighting for it intelligently. I'll see you in the next one.